Welcome to Your Good News. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. This is a show dedicated to nothing but things that will make you smile or at least help you find hope and faith in humanity. The world is a rough place, and sometimes we just need to hear some of the good things going on. So let's start with some sports talk. Timberwolves fans feel so close to a championship they can almost taste it. And with new owners, Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore taking charge, maybe it is the spark that's needed. Jennifer Hoff spoke with the two of them about their vision for both the Wolves and the Lynx, which does include a new arena.
Today, we're excited to introduce new controlling owners of the Timberwolves and Lynx, co-chairman Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez.
In a highly anticipated appearance, Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore making their first public debut as the new owners of the Timberwolves and Lynx, a multi-year process the two say marks a clean slate.
This is a dream come true. So excited to have this opportunity.
Rodriguez, a baseball star, and Lore, a businessman committed to bringing home a championship despite a long Minnesota sports history of heartbreak and close calls.
The minute that you know and you visualize where you want to take the organization from a vision point of view, and then you work backwards, and then you put all the implements, whether it's talent, culture, resources we have to invest, whether there's a new arena, you have to put the big dream out there, the North Star, and then work towards it.
The two saying they're willing to spend what it takes to build the Wolves roster, a young one now with some gaps to fill, but also includes consistent superstars like shooting guard Anthony Edwards, surprising today's crowd, part of what the two call a bold and exciting era, as the team is having its most successful stretch yet.
When you talk about this new era, how would you get people to be even more interested in what's ahead and what can they look forward to?
People are starting to fall in love with their team because they're getting to know them. The more they know them, the more they want to fall in love.
We're really excited. It's going to be fun. That's really the key word for someone who's getting into the NBA, into basketball, is that, come out to a game and this will be a great day and a great experience.
You can expect the team to stay put in Minnesota, but a new arena is on the table. The Target Center, now the second oldest in the NBA, but with a lease that doesn't expire for another 10 years.
They deserve a better experience. And all we are, they're really the stakeholders, the community and the fan base. We're stewards of the franchise, but we're representing the fan base, and everything we do, we think about how is our fan base going to react to this.
The two, loyal to creating a long-standing relationship, confident in the future of two teams. For now.
The Twins are for sale too.
We're good. We're very busy. We go narrow and deep with these two teams.
Two teams is enough. Yeah.
Jennifer says part of that fun experience for fans is a new app that will launch next season, allowing them to upgrade to better seats at a cheaper price if any open up at any point in the game. All right, now imagine you're doing some minor home improvement projects and you discover a century-old ad frozen in time. Ian Russell has the story.
Few things are as mundane as replacing siding.
I was absolutely floored.
But ask George Johnson.
It was immediately like,
and
oh my God.
He'd have to disagree.
Totally different. When they started pulling this off, I had no idea there would be any of this. Kind of a complete surprise.
Johnson always knew his home was historic.
It was built in 1915.
But nothing could compare to this.
It's an instantly recognizable Minnesota landmark kind of a thing. And it's like, this is a really cool, big deal.
History.
It hasn't seen sunlight until today.
Tucked away for nearly a century.
And all the colors are still just fantastic. You're not going to find signs like this that are in this condition because it essentially just got sealed 110 years ago under tar paper and siding. I want to just make sure it's protected right away.
Not just one side of the house, but both. The other side now covered. Pictures show the old gold medal flower ad in its full glory.
To dig into some of the history to find out what in the world was this and why is this on my house was just really fascinating. It was really fun.
That history started in the early 1900s. Building records show the home used to be a lot over and was listed as a store before it was moved to where it is now in November of 1915.
My immediate reaction was like, this is the coolest thing possible.
Tanner Deeds with the Mill City Museum says this isn't just Minnesota history, it's the history of our country.
This is one of the first advertisement campaigns for food that's sustained in American history.
Why not now?
Right? They cut a little bit out.
Yeah.
Deed says that slogan, eventually, why not now, popped up around 1908, part of the flower industry that made the Twin Cities what they are today.
It really speaks to Minnesota playing a role in global economy at the time.
I assume that it was kind of more of a traditional storefront. You can kind of see here.
A turn-of-the-century home now turning heads.
And this was the original stuff. Wow.
If only these walls could talk.
I would love to have anyone reach out to me and say, oh, I have information on your house. People always have that thought that, oh, I'll find something amazing in the attic, or I'll find something in this old house, and you never think it's actually the house itself is the thing that is really cool and historic, you know?
Johnson says he wants to preserve the ads and make sure they're not damaged. He says the plan right now is to carefully remove the entire thing, wrap and protect the house, and reinstall the sign with sealant to protect the paint and that ad. A Minnesota man is sharing his story with us for the first time since he was exonerated of a burglary conviction nearly 3 decades ago. The pardon comes 18 years after Sherman Townsend was released from prison for a crime he did not commit. Joe McCoy has more on his journey to this point and how Townsend plans to move forward.
Sitting on his porch in Minneapolis is something Sherman Townsend does for a couple hours a day.
I get bored after that.
The 75-year-old
Gotta go find something else to do.
lives a quiet and simple life.
It's a relief, a very big relief.
But for Townsend, this freedom on his porch is not something he takes for granted.
You know, when you've been falsely convicted, you didn't have a lot of trust for the corrections department, you know.
In 1998, he was convicted of first-degree burglary and sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, in 2007, David Jones, the only eyewitness who framed Mr. Townsend for the crime, came forward while in prison himself and admitted in extreme detail, including drawings, to being the true perpetrator. KARE 11 was there a few months later in 2007 when Townsend was released from prison with time served.
Just new chances. One of my top prayers with God, please don't let my mother die while I'm in prison. He got me out 5 months. I got to spend 5 months with her, and she died.
However, for the past 18 years, this crime was still on Townsend's record until Wednesday.
It's been a long process, but a really gratifying result.
Jevin Binman is a pro bono attorney with the Great North Innocence Project, helping represent Townsend, who was the organization's first ever client back in 2002.
To be in the hearing at the Board of Pardons, to hear that unanimous vote, and then have the entire audience go into applause for Sherman was really just an amazing moment.
I didn't do the crime. I didn't want to die with that on my record that I did do this crime.
His top prayer was to get out of prison before his mom died. His second prayer is one many Minnesotans can relate to.
Lord, don't let me die before the Vikings win the Super Bowl. What can I tell you?
In Minneapolis, Joe McCoy, KARE 11 News.
Besides his freedom, Townsend says the thing he lost most during his 10 years in prison was the ability to put money away towards retirement. Okay, how's this for some good news? 95-year-old Master Chief Ed Cruz served 30 years in the Navy and was part of the original U.S. Navy parachute team, which was called the Shooting Stars. He also served as an instructor and was the last person in history to make a parachute jump from a U.S. Navy blimp. On July 5th, the current Navy parachute team, called the Leapfrogs, honored Ed by meeting with him before and after they jumped at the Duluth Air Show. The Leapfrogs presented Ed with an enlarged photo of the 1962 Navy parachute team. He signed that, and they say they will display it at their home base. That's so awesome. Ed, God bless you, and thank you for your service. Still to come, 2 young men defying the odds, one fighting cancer, the other surviving an arrow through his head. And yes, they are both good news stories. But first, here's some of the good news that you shared with us this week. Rob from Crystal says, maybe a month ago I found a white squirrel. Update, he's still hanging around and driving Molly, our dog, nuts. I named him Ford after Whitey Ford, the baseball player. I hadn't heard of him, so fun fact, I looked him up. Whitey Ford played his entire 16-year MLB career with the New York Yankees. How about that?
There you go.
There you go. Candy Sartell says, my friend Phil Sanders married an Australian more than 6 years ago and moved to Heathcote, Victoria, Australia. This is Betty, their greyhound, he takes regularly to the dog park where she can get in quite a workout. Can you see this there?
Oh, because she chases the kangaroo. You can't do that in Minnetonka.
You do not do that in Minnetonka.
No. Yep.
That's so cute. And then Kay Rosheim says, This is an awesome milestone. My beautiful mom, Millie Carpenter, recently celebrated her 100th birthday. Mom moved to Minnesota from her hometown of Iowa City, Iowa at 97, 3 years ago.
Wow.
My parents supported women's basketball, specifically the University of Iowa women's teams, before doing so was cool. Now she's also a WNBA fan, especially the Indiana Fever, Go Hawks, and all women's sports. In this family picture, you can see the kids are in blue and their spouses. The grandchildren and their spouses are all in yellow. And then the great-grandchildren, you can see
a bunch of them
in peach. It's like they kept growing. They just kept getting bigger and bigger.
What a legacy.
Right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, this is a day that honestly last year we didn't know if we were going to be at.
Welcome back. We are checking in on a local high school wrestler who's defying some incredible odds to reach one of life's biggest milestones. Around this time last year, Gabe Kessel of White Bear Lake was given a pretty grim diagnosis. Gabe has brain cancer and was told he might only have months to live. But as Audrey Russo shows us, he is still fighting.
I'm just excited.
That's him. I know him, a boy.
About to begin with nothing but opportunity lying ahead.
I mean, for me, it's just more treatments. And I'm not going to schools or getting a job because I have to focus on beating cancer first.
I hereby declare that these students are eligible to receive their diplomas.
I had a second tumor show up on one of my MRIs.
And that disqualified him from the CAR-T trial down in Texas. But the University of Minnesota is doing a trial, reinforces your push to be that parent that does everything for their children.
You must always remember, once a bear, always a bear.
There's already backups to this one if this one doesn't work, and a backup to the other backup. So we're all in for the fight.
Today marks a significant milestone in our lives.
Are you crying yet? Up, you're crying.
I feel great, actually. No medicines going through my veins or anything. My appetite's back.
Gabriel Michael Kessel.
You know, every parent envisions their child graduating high school, and when you're in a reality where graduating high school is the milestone.
Graduates, please stand.
It humbles you.
It is our honor to officially present to you the White Bear Lake Area High School Class of 2025.
It feels good. It does. I can't wait to be a grown-up.
The latest trial Gabe is trying is a first-of-its-kind treatment offered through the U of M. It stimulates the immune system to attack brain tumors and counteract the cancer's response. Good luck. Now to another young man defying the odds. It goes without saying, Boyd Huppert has heard thousands of stories in his land of 10,000 stories. But the one you're about to hear leaves even Boyd astounded. A story of survival after a 9-year-old takes an arrow to the head.
After 2 goals, we switch.
If you're inclined to believe in miracles,
Go, Gus, get it.
come inside. The Dieterding family appears to have scored one.
Let's go. Hey.
That's Sylvia and Hank at center ice. And at goalie, that's Gus,
2-1.
who was on the family's icy driveway back in March before the concrete was poured, loading some things in his dad's truck, including this youth bow and arrow.
I think he was carrying everything at once, and the arrow we think was like right here, and he then fell right on it.
Parents, Abby and Dave.
I was vacuuming downstairs. Dave was getting dressed, and he came in, in a panic, like, whoa, lots of blood.
He had a very small, cut on his head.
Cleaned up, this is the cut.
At home, he kept saying, Mom, am I dying? Am I gonna leave you? I don't wanna leave you yet. And we're like, Gus, no, we're just getting stitches.
They drove to the Alexandria Hospital, where a cautious doctor sent Gus by helicopter to Minneapolis and Children's Minnesota, no one yet knowing how far the arrow had gone.
That's the path the arrow took, and a little bit of hemorrhage along the way.
See that white dot at the top of Gus's head scan? It's a piece of bone carried by the arrow to where it stopped, before Gus, on his own, pulled the arrow back out.
And that scan, I was like, it literally took my breath away, and I felt like sick to my stomach. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, no, that far, what?
Yet there was Gus in a hospital bed at Children's Minnesota, seemingly fine. So fine, doctors at Children's initially sent him back home. These scans weren't taken until his parents brought him back after Gus started vomiting, and doctors finally saw what they couldn't fathom.
He looked too normal.
Ken Maslanka is the doc who heads Children's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit.
I would say in the 28 years I've been at Children's of Minnesota, I've never seen anything like this.
Again, the arrow went through the middle of Gus's brain.
All the sensory and motor function is all coming through here. It came within 2 centimeters of exiting the skull.
Dr. Maslanka made a model showing the arrow's trajectory.
So the carotid artery is right here. Had it hit that would have been death within minutes.
If he'd seen this model without first knowing the outcome?
I would say that this poor, unfortunate 9-year-old young man didn't survive this, based on what I see here.
Yeah, this one was really cool, right?
Yet there's Gus.
I hope you feel better.
Rereading the get well cards from his school.
The best hockey player I know.
It's either fortune at a minimum, or it's heavenly presence of God controlling the direction of that arrow.
Yeah.
For Gus's parents, no question which.
We know it didn't just happen.
This is a miracle.
Yeah.
Family photos of Gus doing normal kid things, all taken since March when he pulled an arrow out of his brain. And the double Gus hit, his first time at bat after returning to his baseball team.
He is as normal as he was beforehand.
If you are inclined to believe in miracles, seldom will you see one clearer.
It is a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Gus spent 6 days at Children's Minnesota. A few weeks later, he was cleared to return to normal activities. His parents have not pressed Gus to talk about the accident. He seems to prefer not to. The Desjardins said that there were other signs supporting their miracle conclusion, including a chaplain friend that randomly invited Gus's dad to lunch and gave him a blessing for peace and strength just hours before that accident. Well, 60 kids in White Bear Lake are now a little safer around the water thanks to a local organization's milestone giveaway. 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at White Bear Lake Safety Camp were fitted with free life jackets from Abby's Hope. The organization was started by the parents of a Twin Cities girl who died after being injured by a faulty pool drain. They gave away their 10,000th life jacket at the camp, a goal they started working towards just 3 years ago.
So we went out and bought a few life jackets, and then we started getting a little bit more interest in it, and then we started seeing these safety events, and so before we knew it, we were at 2,000 or 3,000, and we're like, hey, wait a second, maybe we could do this.
Abby's Hope also funds swim lessons and advocates for pool equipment legislation. Still to come, kids and dogs and seniors, oh my, a summer program making a lasting impact on all 3 groups. But first, here's more of your good news that you shared with us this week. Stephen Hermanic says, I was in Orlando over the 4th of July weekend visiting family. I got to spend time in the pool, at Magic Kingdom, and at Epcot. I ate some amazing French pastries at France while I was at Epcot. Was so delicious. Lots of O's in there. We feel you, buddy. Teresa and Terry Olson from Winona say this is the 11th year that Freckles, our doodle rescue, has been sunning himself on his lounge chair on our patio.
Aww.
Freckles, may you have 11 more. God bless.
That looks like it needs to be painted.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's just such a sweetheart there. Dave Wright says, we had this visitor outside our Roseville townhouse in the early morning hours. Thanksgiving still more than 4 months away. Buddy, you better get away from that guy's house for real fast.
Better his house than mine, man. We have like whole gangs of them roaming the streets. I mean, they are nuts.
Welcome back. Right now is the time of year when hydrangeas can thrive in Minnesota, and you can transform your blooms just by making changes to your soil. Laura Becker and Bobby Jensen show us how in this week's Grow with Care.
Everyone loves a good hydrangea. They sell more than any other plant out there. Number one. Today, we're specifically focusing on the types of hydrangea that you can change the color of the blooms by altering the pH of the soil. And the key is it has to be a macrophylla hydrangea.
And you probably have heard the term endless summer. It was developed right here in Minnesota, and it is the best and the hardiest. And you can go from pink to blue.
Now, there are two of the three main types of hydrangea. No matter how much you put in the soil, they're not going to change color. And those are the arborescens and the paniculata.
And the good thing about them is they're coming out with some fantastic colors of those two varieties.
So the general rule is that for blue flowers, you would make the soil acidic. For pink flowers, you would make the soil alkaline.
If blue is the color of your choice, I like elemental sulfur and cottonseed meal. Both of them are much better organically for the plant. And remember to start early in the season. You don't just throw it on and turn blue.
For the pink blooms, you would apply garden lime. This will raise the soil pH. About a half a cup of lime around the base of the plant. Regardless of what direction you want to go, acid or alkaline, start applying it early in the season because your plant's going to take some time to soak up the nutrients and change the color of the blooms.
But you're really changing the soil. So like Laura said, it doesn't happen overnight, but repeated applications, it'll work great.
And just remember, the main rule is that this only works with the macrophylla hydrangeas, not the paniculata or the arborescens.
A summer program in Wisconsin is benefiting kids, seniors, and dogs. Possum Partners trains future service dogs with the help of elementary school students, giving both the opportunity to bond with the older adults. Adam Mueller has the details.
Dorothy O'Connor was looking for a way to mix her passions.
I credit my mom for my love of working with older people, and as I got into teaching, I shared that with my students as well as my love for dogs.
And she found it. Possum Partners brings summer school students to the Adult Day Center for learning about everything canine.
Each day we usually have a special guest and a groomer, a canine officer, a search and rescue person.
She's also volunteering to raise Moffat, a future leader dog for the blind. And her students lend a hand.
How are you today?
Like making sure he needs to go to the bathroom, making sure he has water and food and that kind of stuff.
Petting with them, snuggling them, just having just some fun and snuggling and everything.
We were trying to distract the dogs, so it's when they're leading the people around, then and if there was a squirrel walking by, then it wouldn't bark at it and jump up at it and knock the person down.
It's all to help Moffat ace her seeing eye dog test in a year.
Moffat is my buddy.
If they pass, it makes me feel that, oh, I did a good job helping.
And help bridge that generational gap.
Dogs just bring the best out in all of us. People partnering to show that we all have a purpose and have value.
They're in week 3 of a 4-week program, and next week they're going to make treats.
Let's take a final listen to some of your good news that you've shared with us this week. Jay Loeffler says we spent the 4th of July holiday weekend on the Alexandria chain of lakes. Many hours on the pontoon and in the water swimming, floating with friends and family. The chain of lakes has its ice cream truck pontoon, plays music, just like the ice cream truck would. Imagine that. And it travels from boat to boat selling ice cream. That would be so awesome. Whoever came up with that is a genius. It was a great weekend, and Bell's weather team was spot on for the forecast. Yes, we like to give them kudos whenever we can.
Kind.
Yes. Pete sent this in. Our book club reads books on cosmology and used to meet in person monthly until COVID hit. Now, the Big Bang Book Club meets via Zoom, but we miss meeting in person, so every once in a while we get together for lunch. 6 of us met at Doolittle's in Golden Valley this week. We had a great time together. By the way, cosmology, if you're wondering, is the study of the universe's origin. So Pete, the name of your book club is apropos. Loving it. Ooh. Jane Kappas from Prior Lake sent this in. My husband and I got to spend our 4th up north with our daughter, her husband, and our 4 grandchildren. Memories
fun time.
made for sure. Thanks for joining us for Your Good News. If you'd like to share your good news, we do it every day at the end of our 4 p.m. newscast. Just send us an email to yourgoodnews@KARE11.com and be sure to add any pictures or video of what you'd like us to share. Got a new baby in the family, maybe your daughter got married, or maybe you just spent some good time with good friends and you want to share that, and we want to hear about it. All right, until we see you again, have an excellent week, friends.